What should we call this? Should we call it After Hours or After Dark or that type of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Or like shooting the shit.
Shooting the shit. I kind of like that, let's be honest.
Yeah, although it could get a bit messy. Please
Well,
do not.
it's shooting the shit, though. What do you mean? It's always going to get messy, right?
Yeah, but please do not shoot real shit because that could be
Messy.
catastrophic. Yes,
Stuff
we
like
don't
that,
want
yeah.
fecal matter everywhere.
Dear Haney, obviously we just recorded some general stuff, just getting some more content out of the way. So we're talking about obviously AEW because there's been a lot of stuff going up behind the scenes. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not been great the last little while, has it? Ever since sort of All In. What was it, 2 years ago?
No,
Was
exactly, stuff like that.
the
So we'll roll the intro, mate. Then we'll just have a decent discussion. Yeah,
Let's do it.
let's go. You know what? Let's just skip the introductions. I think everybody knows who we are. Henry, should we just get straight into the discussion?
Yep, let's do it.
Of course. So you mentioned obviously All In and stuff like that, and I mean, I always remember the crowd from that, and it didn't seem as big as it was last year.
Yeah, it was shot differently as well, but I would say it was probably they claimed there was a 83,000 or something in the stadium, but like the local sort of like London Borough Council confirmed it was just over 70,000. Um, so just for anybody that's wondering about that, and I don't know about the sort of like health and safety rules in anywhere else, but in the UK they're pretty strict on the capacity and what was it, and the numbers being legit. So if they say that's how many people were in the arena, that's how many people were in the arena.
So
What
you
was it?
said so. Sorry, you said 70,000. That's 13,000 difference. That's a big gap.
Yep, I can't remember that. Yep, it's a big drop from what was reported. Yep.
Hmm.
Somebody did as you know, in the UK, you can do a sort of it was information request, and some wise person sort of did it to find out what the exact number was, and it was far lower than what they were reporting. Because I think they wanted the record, but I don't think they actually got it. Um, but yeah, what was it? Certainly in the UK, you can't fudge these things. You've got your I mean, if you've got your what was it, your fire certificates and all sorts to sort of worry about, So it's still an impressive amount of people and for a wrestling show, right enough, But yeah, it's not fully accurate because you can do a sort of public information request in the UK and you really have to report what's actually what was it, the actual numbers. You can't fudge them.
It's interesting you mention that stuff like that. I mean, we obviously talk about obviously viewership for obviously the weekly shows and stuff like that. And I mean, we've obviously seen it from WrestleNomics and stuff like that. So everything when it comes to like the let's say the data side of it, do you know what I mean? It's public knowledge in a way.
Yeah, exactly. You can go out and find this information, and you can get people spinning it one way or another. You can spin it. What was it, in a positive or a negative light for all companies? Um, but what was it, when it comes down to it, whether you are dismissive of the numbers or not, there's a lot of people dismissive of the numbers now with the ratings. What was it? But what was it? As Roddy Piper says, don't throw rocks at a man with a machine gun, and that's what they basically did right off the bat with WWE. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so WWE fans were quite happy to shit on themselves for the longest time. What was it? Because that was their company. But as soon as there was a rival out there and they were being attacked, they all sort of fell back into sort of like line and what was it? defended the company that they loved for all these years. You know, some call it some call it tribalism. Others call it like fine well. UK and a lot of Europe's built differently in terms of sport wise. When you pick a team, you know,
Yeah,
what was it
especially when it
called?
comes to like we call it football. Obviously, in America, they
Yeah,
might call it soccer and stuff.
yeah, which is wrong. You know, right? What was
Yeah.
it? What was it? Yeah, but if I was to go to you and say, yeah, but you really should, you really should want Liverpool to succeed, even though you're a Manchester United. I'm not saying you're a Manchester United fan. I'm using that as an example.
I
Even
was.
though, yeah, sorry,
I was when I was younger.
yeah, but what was it called? What was it? It's like even though you're a Manchester United fan, you should be so happy that Liverpool are having such success because it means more players can have success and can win things. You know,
Hmm.
piss off. You know, but was it? It doesn't work that way in the UK. You know, but was it? You pick a team and you stick with it. But was it?
Yeah, unfortunately, with wrestling, though, as you know, and we know as fans, that's not always the case with this.
No, definitely not. You know, and there's nothing wrong with liking all of them. You know, but when you're attacking something that somebody loves, that's when you get people up like backed into a corner and they'll come out and they'll defend what they believe in. You know, right or wrong.
No, exactly, and stuff like that. So you mentioned numbers and stuff, and I was talking about AEW in particular and stuff like that. Now I've got the numbers in front of me for Collision, Dynamite, and Rampage. As a whole, Haney, when I'm looking at these numbers, I hate to admit it as a wrestling fan, and I seen obviously the AEW products and stuff like that. The numbers are declining.
Yeah, they've not they've been in particular decline since CM Punk left.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into the detail as well, you even when they were doing their sort of big run with like last year with like when they had the stuff with Brian Danielson and things like that, the numbers have been steadily declining. Even though they triumph these big things like Danielson at Wembley, which was really cool. I was there to see it. What was it? What was it? Obviously, you had Swerve having his big run. What
Mm-hmm.
was it? But they were never really what they call the needle movers. They never really peaked the numbers up. You know, Tony's tried a few times to bring in some names. He's tried to bring in. What was it? What was it? Right at the beginning, he brought in Chris Jericho. You know, in that first couple of shows, they did over 1 million. What was it called? And it's been steadily declining ever since. You know.
Yeah. So
Mm.
2021 quarter three, obviously 1.1 million. Quarter four, obviously 2021 goes down to 940. 2022 quarter one goes back up to 1 million. Then obviously 916, 999. So if we were looking at 2023 quarter two. That's when basically they gradually declined down to what they are now, about 600.
Yep, exactly. And it's not really picked up of some sense because a lot of people jumped off at that point. They get fed up with nonsense that was going on. I think the first big sort of talking point of that is like the first like Cody going. You know, there's more to that story than we've ever been told.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was it called? And some people have got a sort of take on that. You had the sort of course, what was it? You had Brandy. What was it? Starting off, they had that sort of what was it? The Nightmare Collective, which was a complete flop. It was weird. They were almost heels, but Cody didn't want to be a heel. You know, we all knew what Brandy was with Cody, and it was just a strange. What was it? Idea. What was it
He was
called?
essentially like the locker room leader for that, let's be honest.
But well, Cody was a huge part of what he like of establishing AEW at the beginning. You know, he was a
Mm-hmm.
big part of what was it, the success at the beginning, um, and the storytelling at the beginning. You know,
Yeah, it's definitely weird and stuff like that. I mean, what's even more annoying is when you look at the collision numbers. I mean, 2024 quarter four was obviously 414, and again, even they're down to now 326. Is that the time
yeah.
slot? Do you reckon with that?
No, because wrestling fans are loyal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I dispute anyone that says that it's a time slot thing, because wrestling fans will, if wrestling fans are really loyal, if you put a show on at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll start and watch it. You know,
Like we did yet last night.
like we did last night. What was it called? What was it called? People will go out their way to watch something that they love. You know, and um, yeah, I don't buy that whole. I mean, there's maybe an element of it, you know. But was it? But I don't buy that whole sort of thing,
I
you know.
think the thing is for me though with AEW, I feel like it's more casual fan base than the actual, general hardcore fans.
Well, yeah. What was it called? A lot of people. Uh, the fan base at for fan base for EW is very strange, to say the least, for me, because you've got this sort of like you've got this sort of what was it, a PWG sort of what was it, fans there. So was it the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla sort of style fans, which is really what became the sort of style of VW. What was it? And that number wasn't that high, even though Ring of Honor had sort of like a niche. What was it, fan base? It was never anything. If Ring of Honor, it's another. You can say the same about ECW as well. If these companies were as popular as they were, they would never have went out of business. You know, as people claim. You know. People look back on things with nostalgic reason, looking back at them and say, "Yeah, that was awesome," and yeah, I watched it then, or I was there, I was a big part of that, you know. But
Yeah.
you go watch these events, and there's 100 people in the venue, you know. It's not true.
No, exactly. So obviously for you, mate, obviously, and I'll get my thoughts on this in a second, is we're obviously wrestling fans and stuff like that. We always want wrestling to succeed. What's
Yep.
the biggest frustration for you when it comes to AEW?
There's no variety in the match types.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and the stuff that they're doing differently is just so stupid and outrageous. It's 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 not the greatest thing to watch for me, you know.
Yeah, to elaborate what you've just said there, and I mean, I was thinking about it to the week, and I said it before we came on the air last time, is for things I always think about what's the thing for wrestling, what's going to invest me to tune in the next week and the week
Yeah,
after that. I mean, prime example, obviously NXT. I'm a massive fan of the women's division. That makes me want to tune in, next week and so on and so on.
yeah,
But when it comes to AEW, I mean, the problem is, yeah, there's a great roster. I'm not denying that. Do you know what I mean? There's some incredible talent and stuff like that. But there's nothing about that product for me which makes me want to tune in during the next week and the week after
no.
that.
You could watch a Will Ospreay match this week and not watch it for 6 weeks and then go see the same match, you know. And everybody, like, people say it's amazing, you know, it's the greatest match since sliced bread or whatever. But that was it. There's nothing to it. It's just the same match, you know. And I think that's what was it? When you claim to be a sort of pro wrestling company, you almost made it to be more like mixed martial arts. You need the
Mm-hmm.
different styles, you know, and they had a bit of that at the beginning, which was really good. Even though I'm not fond of the sort of high flying flippy dippy shit, you know. Um,
Flippy Dippy
but
Wrestling.
yeah, but was it Widdly Wankery wrestling? What was it? What was it? You know, it's it just to me it doesn't. I can't get what was it, immersed in it because they do stuff that's so flipping stupid, you know, um, that it's illogical. Like doing pile drivers off the like middle rope. I remember Sammy and MJF, they did this amazing move,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it kicks out. Like I'm like, you just what was it, pile drive somebody off the middle rope for crying out loud sake, man. You know, and you've just destroyed a move by like kicking out on it. You know, like you just proving that it doesn't do anything. It's, and it affects the ability to sort of lose immersion. Even when people are doing it right, like when recently WWE have done the sort of pile driver stuff with Kevin Owens. You see that, and they had that. They wrote out Randy Orton with it, and they wrote out what was it, Sami Zayn. But you think you watch it and you go, well, yeah, it's not really that devastating because I was watching AEW the other week and they were doing that move every second move as a as a
Yeah,
spot.
exactly, and stuff like that.
You know?
And we're not knocking obviously AEW and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? They have put obviously some great matches and stuff
No,
like that.
yeah. I mean,
But I feel like it. Sorry, go ahead.
I've been to like quite a few of the shows and that, you know, and when you go to a live show, it's different from watching it on television as well. You know, what was it? It's a different experience. You know, um, you can get caught up in the emotions of what's going on in the arena.
Yeah,
And you've got other people around about you.
yeah, exactly, and stuff like that. So one thing, obviously, which we know is well documented now, obviously in the rest of the world, is the backstage thing with AEW. I mean, this whole. I want to get your thoughts on this because we haven't really spoke about it. What do you reckon to this? Like, where apparently there's no production meetings.
See that sounds bizarre, and it almost sounds like they do that not to offend anybody. You know,
Hmm.
oh no, I don't want to do that. You know, it's
Yeah,
like you need somebody there. You need somebody there to say, right, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, well, I don't want to do that. Well, tough. You know, what was it? You do it or you don't go on. You know, but instead, there's all these compromises and what was it? Workarounds to what they're trying to do because the
yeah. And
wrestler's out there.
the thing is with that reminds me of like creative control from the WCW days.
Mhm. Except that there's nothing creative. There's no creative process going into the match because sometimes the matches are like, well, I don't think I should lose this week. You know,
Mm.
um, or what was it? The match shouldn't finish until I've done all my moves, including my finisher twice. It's like, you know, it's and that's one thing that bugs me in wrestling all the time is WWE do that as well. Is the match isn't over unless it's a squash match, but you can typically tell what wrestlers there are. What was it? 9 times out of 10, what was it? Both opponents are going to get their finisher in.
Yeah,
So, what was it? Very rarely do you have somebody hitting their finisher and the match is over. If the likelihood is if that person hits their finisher first, they're not winning that match. You know, what was it called? Or they're going to be a couple of sequences of other finishers. But the likelihood is they're not winning that match. You know, it's just like ticking a checkbox off to say, right, you've done your move now, and let me do my bit.
yeah. It's really weird and stuff like that. I mean, I just don't understand it. I mean, and we're not knocking, like I said, the company and stuff like that, but there's got to be something which needs to like the backstage thing needs to improve, whether we like it or not.
No, it does. It definitely does. You need people to be able to control and manage. You know, it's in anything. If you leave people to just do their own thing, nothing will get done, or nothing will get done properly.
No, and like I said, we've seen obviously the crowds and stuff like that. I mean, you've got like big venues, but your crowds going and filling like probably not even 20%.
Yeah, what was it? And it's just the same ones, and you know, basically what you've got now at the venues is you're in a situation where the WWE was. What was it 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where the crowd just want to control the narrative in the match, you know, or the
Mm-hmm.
storylines. They think they're more important than what's going on in the ring, you know.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and what was it? It's you know, I've said it before. It's not it's not about you. It's for you. It's not about you. You know, what was it? Oh, they should do it this way, or they should do it that way. You know,
yeah.
no,
D-
what was it? We'll do it this way, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You know, but um, we want to stick to we want to stick to the structures to get to this end result or this end goal. You can't keep on trying to tweak it to try and make things work. If things are not working, you know, what was it? You can't just abandon it and try something else. You know, what was it called? That's why as frustrating it is to watch sometimes the WWE. Things are done at a slower pace just to build that foundation. You build the foundation of stuff, and then you execute where you want the storyline to go. Whereas, like, take the Death Riders for example, they came in and they did the big sort of running and the big smashing up and things like that, and it was naff after a couple of weeks. I mean, it looks like last week it looked like Christopher Daniels was murdered outside the ring. That was it.
Wasn't the apparently the camera angle caught him actually blading?
Yeah, which is even worse because it's a hot angle. But was it like it was a segment shot backstage. It's just stupid stuff.
Exactly. So the reason I bring this up in particular about the backstage thing is one of the biggest talking points I think was last week was it's obviously with the Thunder Rose, Megan Bain, and
Yeah,
Penelope Ford incident.
yeah.
I've
I
seen
mean,
everything now. I've obviously talked to everybody obviously online what people are saying about it. What's your thoughts about it when you watch it back?
yeah, she was buried in that. That's it, that whole thing. They buried her.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, completely. Because you don't know, you don't unless you're a complete like novice, you don't know sell stuff like that. You know, that it made no self. They basically just what was it? Ghosted the girl in the ring. It was just, you know, didn't even flinch for the about the chair. It was just
You look stupid. Let's be
uh,
honest.
blatantly, blatantly like some sort of punishment or some sort of what was it? Like let's put you in your place.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason, obviously, there's obviously speculation that because she obviously praised Ricky Starks going to NXT, there's also Steven Richards obviously gave his theory on it. It's an incredible thing. Go watch that if people haven't watched it and stuff. But it's real when you watch it back. It's like in the old school days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm just obviously speaking, obviously as a wrestling fan, is I'm sure me like in the old school days, you're running down that person's there, you're getting hit with that chair whether you like it or not.
yeah. You would have doubled down on it in the olden days. You would have ended up with a sore one if you did something like that in the olden days. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've obviously got a follow up and stuff like that now. She's obviously spoke about it on Busted Open. I don't know if you've seen the obviously response. I think I sent it you.
Yep.
Now, what did you think of that? Because I was kind of confused.
It was a bit of a cryptic message.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was it? It was almost like she was like hands tied behind her back. Everything's wonderful. Everything's great.
No,
But it's not.
exactly. It's really weird. Like, I just didn't understand it. Now, I've got a bit of obviously follow up information for that as well. So,
Uh-huh.
initially, online speculation suggested Bain and Ford acted independently, but AEW sources clarified to Fightful Select this was not the case. The issue was attributed to a miscommunication from a coach or producer regarding talent positioning. AEW sources confirmed that the situation was addressed internally after the segment and there is no lingering issues between the involved performers. So you're saying miscommunication, but bearing in mind this is a company which is what, 5 year old?
Yeah, and it's not the first time they've done stuff like this. Billy, like a sort of Billy Boy tactic, and what was it? No matter what, like people want to say about Saint Tony, he's not like the nice friendly guy people like to make him out. Go speak to what was it? The Jacksonville Jaguar, what was it, fans or Fulham fans, and find out what they think of him.
Yeah.
Everything's great when it's going well, but it he doesn't like not getting his way, and it can be quite it can people around about him can be quite vindictive, and they get away with it because he's obviously in their sort of group. So it's a very strange thing that's happened, but you've just got to go look back through the past and other sort of circumstances with these sort of like storylines. They keep on coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Similar sort of similar sort of narrative with different wrestlers that happened with people forget that it happened with Cody. You know, what was it called? There was a wee bit of animosity at the end, supposedly. Um, my my take on that is from what I heard, is it was more to do with Brandy than Cody. That Brandy was being very disrespected by a few people backstage, particularly the Young Bucks' wife, who's no longer at the company, by the way, I believe.
Wasn't the Young Bucks wife one of the producers?
Well, she was. She was one that was responsible for the terrible merch that was going out as well. So, what was it? Yeah. So read into that what you will. But that's from what I gather. That's more to do with why Cody left than Cody himself.
Yeah,
Um,
it'd be interesting.
it's interesting. It's interesting to know. You sort of read these things, but um, then following up to seeing what happened with the Punk, um, and then other things with like Ricky Starks, and you've got the stuff with, but was the guys wanting released. But was it, how many times did Malachi Black ask for his released? Very strange scenario.
Yeah, now all of a sudden now he's no longer part of the thing.
Yeah,
Obviously, back to WWE's inevitable. Let's be honest.
yeah, he's quite friendly with William Regal and Triple H, so I can only assume that he's going to be back there.
Yeah, exactly. So one final thing, obviously, to talk about because I'm trying to keep it as long short as possible because I know you've got to head off and stuff. Is you mentioned obviously talent being fumbled and stuff like that. I mean, the list is endless. Ricky Starks is obviously a prime example and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Pentagon Junior, well, is it? Yeah, Pentel
yeah,
Zero Miedo, sorry, Ray Phoenix. The list is endless. Is that
yeah.
because one is the roster too stacked?
Well, there's a number of reasons that I look at it. I look at it for, but was it so you go right back and you go back to the sort of it like the Nightmare Family were a big sort of part of AEW at the beginning. That sort of fell apart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the sort of over reliance of the elite guys,
Yeah.
you know. What was it? He, I mean, he's no longer. He's only brought in for special occasions now, but you almost had like a sort of Jim Ross in the commentary. You know, he's like wasn't as good as what he used to be. Obviously, getting older, but it was almost like not giving a fuck about what he was saying. You know,
If we're talking experience wise, though, he probably knows the business inside out. I think he could offer more than just the commentary side.
I don't think Tony wanted that knowledge. But you think about let's look at the start of it because everybody like and we've talked about this before. Everybody talks about it was a startup company. It was a startup company with nearly 10 like WWE right main eventers that have participated in one or more of the big four pay-per-views, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And we're
Yeah.
talking like Chris Jericho and what was it? We had Daniel Bryan, you know, into Brian back to sort of Brian Danielson is his real name, you know. What was it called? You had what was it? Dustin Dustin Rhodes, who was there. You know, obviously his run was a bit like a long time ago, but Goldust had that sort of big run. You know, you had what was it, guys like Arn Anderson, what was it, Dean Malenko, like amazing sort of guys with amazing wrestling knowledge. What was it called? You had obviously John Moxley who came in,
And that's the
Cesaro.
frustrating thing, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You've got
Yeah.
all these people, obviously, with the experience and stuff, but they're not being utilized.
Well, some of them have been allowed to do what the hell they want, you know, which
Mm-hmm.
is right. People go on about like Jericho likes to bam about how he had a lot of ideas, but it's quite clear that he's only bamming about the ones the ones that he might have had something to do with. Clearly, Vince had what was it and no matter what you think of Vince, he obviously knew a good idea or a bad idea, you know. Um, and it's quite clear that he was a great filter for filtering out some of the shite that Chris Jericho's done since like going to EW. I mean, it's unbelievable some of the trash that he's done. Um, but they had all these big names, and you had all these guys that even away from the WWE guys, you had the guys that have what was it headlined the what was it the Tokyo Dome and things like that. So these are all like household names in terms of wrestling. So the idea of it being a startup doesn't really fall. That was it fall in line with what this like yeah, that's a new company, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
the experience and the drawing power that was there was massive. People forget that how big. But was it these idiots the elite were with Cody? What was it back in what was it 2017, 18, 19? You know, what was it, they were doing silly numbers. What was it? So it was the whole sort of always a new company, new start thing. Doesn't really you had prestige and you had sort of what was it, household names there as well. Guys like Chris Jericho who'd been there like and done it at every level. You know, just to say that like they're starting afresh is not really true. And I think that was one of the biggest problems is they started out catering for one set of fans and then realised TV needs another. So it took a wee while to sort of alienate people out. But when they finally did alienate them, they just left because these people weren't watching WWE. Let's be honest,
Yep.
right? Because there's never been a shift. The people that watch WWE but come in and out of it don't watch AEW. You could probably, and I've said this before as well, that like everybody goes on about the internet wrestling community. The internet wrestling communities isn't as big as what people think it is, you know. And most of the casual WWE fans probably don't even know what AEW is, you know, because they watch WWE for different reasons. They're not wrestling fans. They're into they're looking for an escape of some sort of entertainment, you know. And what
Yeah,
was it?
it's really weird and stuff like that. So one final thing, mate, obviously to wrap up this
Yeah,
general
sorry.
discussion is for you, what's what does it look like if AEW goes down the same route they're going down now? What's next?
I can't see how they can. I can't see they can how they can change it because Tony's never been a great positive like booker. But was you've got guys there that don't want that don't want to take any sort of advice on how to do things, and they're all looking out for they're all looking for number one. I mean I'm sure they could run it forever with the money they've got. I mean I've said it before. I think EW is a tax sort of write off for but was for the cans. You know, let's spend some money and all the money we're making elsewhere. Um, but I think it'll always be there. But what was it? I just don't know. I just don't know how they can turn things around. You know, and you've got to look at like the financial element of it as well. Like 5, 10 years. Like just now, it's fantastic. Everybody says, "Oh, we've got another company there." But was that's great. But was more people and jobs. But come 5, 10 years from now, when Tony's not offering that money, the WWE is not going to give them it. You know.
No,
But
so
was it?
so the restrictions are kind of limited.
Yep. And but was and EW coming along has almost killed the indie scene. You know, because they talk about all these like, oh, they can work anywhere and everywhere, but that was a lie. That was like was true at the beginning, but it no longer is true. Just like the whole what was it, health insurance and stuff and all that stuff went away really quickly. All that sort of PR spin, good versus evil stuff that was told to sort of spin a narrative around how like EW was a better, healthier, safer, and alternative to WWE. You know, it, it's just not true.
No, it isn't and stuff like that. So we'll obviously wrap that up any and stuff like that. Thanks to me, you got a dash and stuff like that. But yeah, for people listening, let you guys obviously comment and stuff like that. What do you think's going obviously on? What do you think's wrong? How can they improve it? Comment on it, let us all know and stuff like that. And maybe we'll do a second part to this, Haney.
Yeah, I mean there is definitely. I mean definitely there is a lot of positives from like AEW, you know. But uh, watching it week on week off is becoming a chore because, like I've said before, you don't remember what happens in matches. You remember moments, and the moments tends to be that entertainment element of storylines. Like last night, you know, with Cody and Cena, right? It was it's like that. It's like the whole sort of Bash at the Beach sort of like syndrome. Nobody remembers the card. They just remember Hogan coming out and leg dropping. You know what was it? What was it? Macho Man. I think it was. Can't remember if it was Macho Man or Sting. Even then, nobody remembers it. They just remember the entertainment part. You know, and I think that's the bit that EW is missing.
Exactly.
You know.
Right. Like I said, we'll end it there, Haney, and stuff like that. So, like I said, people obviously listening, let us know in the comments and stuff like that. And we'll try and obviously maybe do a follow up, like I said, Haney. So, just
Yeah,
watching, guys.
definitely.